Before we start, we need to tell you up front we are not a licensed financial planning, accounting or law firm. This is simply an education program which will give you factual information. We do not give any general or specific advice around finance, business, investing, options trading or anything else. That is not what this presentation does. Please see a licensed financial planner when it comes to any investment advice you need.
It is great, mate. I'm ready for the Greater Wealth, our little program we do every Monday at 1. We talk about finance and creating a way to find those little magic, what do you call them again? Little happy tickets?
Tickets.
Happy tickets. The happy tickets that buy you a lot of options. They buy you freedom, let's face it, ways to find your life purpose. So with that in mind, you've got the old laptop in front. You're ready to go, mate.
I
You
am
are
ready
primed.
to go. I am madly researching stuff as we go because, like last week, it was all coming up to the actual minute as we were speaking of the whole FTX thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the mess that was going on there. Today I want to kick it off, though, with something a little bit different that's been around a while but has not got a lot of publicity.
Okay.
And I think people need to know about it. So the Australian Taxation Office, or ATO, has come out and is wanting to introduce a director's digital ID.
They love that digital ID, don't they?
So anyone who runs a proprietary limited of some nature
Sure.
can be affected by this. Now, this doesn't just affect people in business because not-for-profits can be set up with a proprietary limited as well.
Sure, okay.
People who have a self-managed super fund could have a proprietary limited attached to it. People who have private trusts, I should say not private trust. I should say family trust, or run a business through that could have a proprietary limited. A private trust is something different, technically. But that affects all of those individuals, and so this introduction is interesting. You see both sides of the argument here. Okay, the government is wanting to. They're saying they want to introduce it to stop the practice of phoenixing. Now, what is phoenixing?
Yeah, tell me. I don't know what phoenixing is.
So if a business goes into problems, now the biggest danger probably for a business, there's a couple of dangers, is one of them is the tax department. Okay. If a business cannot pay its taxes, doesn't set aside funds from its profits to pay tax, the ATO can shut it down, basically, right? The other one is asset protection. So if they face a lawsuit, they can do that. So a lot of businesses will have a proprietary limit of some nature to protect them from lawsuits. Okay.
Yep.
The worst thing you could do is run a business in your own name. Because
gotcha.
that means that any asset you have in your own name in a lawsuit is liable. So if you own your family home in your own name and you're running your business as a sole trader, you are in a very precarious spot.
Makes you vulnerable, yeah.
So a lot of accountants and lawyers set businesses up using a proprietary limited. Right. Now, one of the things that is interesting you have to be very careful of is if somebody has to put a business that goes bankrupt or into liquidation and owes great debts, the moment they do that, right, the people who are looking at dealing with a bankruptcy they will look at it and go, okay, we're liquidating what assets from this business to pay the creditors.
Sure.
Okay, and they'll go through it and they'll get pennies on the dollars or whatever it might be.
Yep.
The problem can be is that, and you legally you can't then just start up a new entity and move the assets from that previous business and start afresh.
Well, yeah, that makes common sense.
Okay,
yep.
It's illegal to do that technically. So what they're doing, the government is putting in this digital ID to ensure that people who are running businesses, are they attached to that new entity to be able to identify it. That's why they're saying they're doing this. All right. I look at it this way. Now, you actually look at the information that they're requiring is very, very invasive in my view because they're looking for personal bank accounts, personal addresses, and technically a business is separate from somebody's personal assets.
Absolutely.
Okay, and that's what I looked at what they're actually asking from business owners. That set the rate. I go, well, why is it such a big deal to look at somebody's personal assets or personal bank accounts? What's that got to? I mean. To be someone to set up a proprietary limited, one, you have to register with the Australian Securities Investment Commission, which is ASIC. Sure. All right. And the ATOs, they've got to report to that. That's two government bodies already, right? Why do we need a third?
Why? Why indeed?
My reading between the lines, my summary is the government is needing cash flow.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right.
And what happens is when these companies go into liquidation, it's easy for someone to walk away not having to pay the taxes owed, but there are heavy conditions for doing so. And anybody considering that has to get proper professional advice on doing that.
I can imagine, yeah.
Because they can't be a director for a number of years.
Sure.
They can't have assets up to a certain name. It even comes down to what kind of car you can drive. And I know
Really?
that's a concern to yourself.
Now you're talking my language.
Right? It's very, very restrictive what you can do there. So it has to be done with very calculated risk management advice.
Okay. Sounds that way.
In terms of that process. And I've known guys who've been facing that and have decided, I'm going to push through it and overcome it, et cetera, et cetera. But what they're doing is, if you do that, it can, in some cases, close up your business, right? And in some cases, I've known, it doesn't affect their credit rating.
Oh, okay.
And they walk away from that debt, that tax debt,
Sure.
and then figure out how they move forward from there.
Okay.
That's what I think they're trying to make it harder to just walk away from that tax debt.
Gotcha.
Between the lines, that's what I'm seeing.
All right, because I do not understand this part of finance whatsoever. So it's very interesting to me. I think my kind of question, as far as tax debt, I know that when businesses are first started up and businesses are losing money and that sort of thing, there's talk of there's tax credits now and all sorts of things, which is different to the past. So does that come into play at all?
Tax credits. It's a little bit different. I mean, you can have, if you make losses, those losses can be carried forward in future years in terms of taxation. So that's what they refer to as tax losses. So if a business, typically a business starting in its first 2 years, it's not uncommon for it to be making losses in the first 2 years. It's trying to get off the ground, get enough momentum, get enough reputation out there, get enough customer base to cover one that's fixed costs, and then start to grow to get employees on, et cetera, et cetera. So, it's not uncommon for that to occur in a business. So those losses that were made in those first few years can be carried forward and offset against profits in future years. Okay. It's getting technical now.
Yeah, no, I'm listening. I'm intently listening, trust me.
Right. So, but again, this has to be done with the right expertise in handling all this. This is not specific or general advice that I'm giving. This is purely for education purposes. And to be completely transparent, I have been out of the accounting world for some time running my own businesses. So rules change in the time I do doing that. So again, please talk to your accountant.
Oh, look, and make sure you honestly. I mean, it's such a big thing. If you are in business, get yourself an accountant, shop around, find a very good one.
Don't find the cheapest one necessarily. Right? It's this is what I look at. What your accountant, what I pay my accountant is what I'm saving in tax.
Yeah.
Right. And headaches.
Yep.
And interesting though, these digital IDs cannot be done by accountants or lawyers. You have to do them individually.
Oh, why have they done that?
Well, because they're wanting you to do the second authentication with an app on your smartphone, right? And bringing it all into, hey, this is your digital ID number.
Yeah, okay.
Please keep this safe. You may share it with other directors of your company, etc., or a secretary or something like that. But
this is to me, it's Orwellian, to be frank. But okay.
The question is, how far does this go? Sure. This may be the initial part of what they want to roll out, and say this is. But again, it's a slippery slope.
It's a foot in the door, let's face it.
And it's becoming big government. My big concern is big government is now getting more and more invasive over its citizens and going, where does it stop? So,
now, can I ask this question? Because I wasn't all over this. Now, is this something that Labor have introduced, or was this something that was on the books before?
This was before Labor. This is so for a period of time, any new company had to have somebody who's setting up a new company had to be registered with the digital ID. You couldn't set it up.
Okay.
The reason it's become such a big deal at the moment is the deadline is the 29th of November.
Okay.
Right, and there's a lot of businesses who haven't done it and don't even know about it.
Well,
so the ATO are very concerned, and the issue is if they don't, they could face fines up to $13,000.
Right. Okay.
So it's business owners are being forced to do this. It's not something that they've had a say in at all.
Sure.
It's just kind of flown under the radar of everything going on in the world at the moment.
Because I've seen online, there's actually groups who are fighting against it at the moment, and there's groups who are doing workshops and so forth to deal with it. To me, it sounds very evasive. It really does.
There are ways to get
invasive,
around it. I was speaking to my accountant about people who were restructuring some of their businesses and that sort of stuff. The risk is that for many of them, they have to face the decision, if I do so, I could lose my asset protection from a lawsuit and that sort of thing.
That's
and
big.
They've got to weigh up what do they guard against, their privacy versus their asset protection.
As far as I'm concerned, big government, it shouldn't happen for a start, but I don't think that should be crossing over. I don't think you should have to make that choice between privacy and doing business. It's disgraceful.
When you go into so much debt over COVID and stuff like that, you've got to pay the bill.
Yes.
And I think what's happening is that the ATO is looking at, right, how do we tighten things up so things don't slip through the cracks, because we've got our bills to pay now. We're in debt to world banks.
I've got a crazy idea. How about we actually start collecting tax from the companies who do business in Australia but don't pay tax in Australia? That might be a good place to start, because there's so many big corporations that are not paying tax in this country that literally have billions of dollars worth of business.
I think again, I'm going to come back to this. I think we need to relook at our tax system.
Okay.
Because fundamentally it's flawed in that it punishes people for doing well. I have no issue with millionaires, billionaires. I think everybody should be a millionaire. I think everybody should drive a lovely car, a luxury car.
Yeah. Don't apologise for success.
There's a group of people in society who go, we don't want everybody driving this car. Well, I'm going deep down. I think you wish you did.
Look, deep down, take the bus and shut up.
Right.
Look, I have a little theory in life. Okay, why survive when you can thrive? Okay, and look, that doesn't always mean financially, but whatever success, however you define that in your mind, sitting on your hands and letting the world come to you, I don't get that. So, no, for people who achieve well, work hard, and get the spoils of success, I have take my hat off to you. Simple as that.
And you've got to look at it from this perspective. A lot of people forget this. If you've never run a business, you wouldn't understand. But many business owners put the next generation's inheritance on the line to make their project work.
True.
The risk they take on is massive.
Yep.
It's not for the faint-hearted if you're going to run your own business.
Risk, right?
Absolutely, right? And so I think people forget that. We have a very socialistic mindset that's crept into Australia. What about me? And look, I love the song, but it really, that's where it's going. What about me? It's like, get back to your life purpose. I keep saying this.
Oh,
if you're meant to run a business, you take on the risk doing so. You should reap the rewards of doing so.
Sure.
If you're not going to take that risk, then you've got to accept that. But you're going to do it on someone else's terms, the business's terms and their culture and that sort of stuff. So there's a payoff either way.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is nothing worse. I'll get it yet. There's nothing wrong, rather, than working for someone else. I mean, the reality is there's lots of people who just want...
Most people do.
Yeah, get on with life and enjoy it. There's others who think, hey, I want to be outside the box here. I want to follow my dreams or develop something. And those people, rather, should be rewarded as well.
Absolutely. So my concern here, again, is... I see us as a society losing our privacy over and over again. Sure. I mean, I remember back when the Australia card was the thing they tried to introduce. The Labor government under the Hawke government tried to introduce it, and people marched in their thousands against it. Well, they got it through anyway. They just did it differently. You know how they did it?
How's that?
They basically made a rule that if you're going to open up a bank account, you need to have your tax file number attached to it.
Sure.
They got around it completely.
Okay.
And that went unnoticed by most people in that population.
Well, you look right now. I mean, I've heard these advertisements on radio particularly and that sort of thing all over the place on YouTube. It's everywhere at the moment, saying, this wonderful new system. We're going to have one central ID and how good's it going to be? And you won't have to use your 100 points anymore, and selling it as this super convenience. Well, to me...
Where are you seeing that?
Oh, yeah. There's government ads running right now. Government ads running, particularly online. On YouTube, I'm seeing them. Have heard them on radio because I do check other radio stations just in case. There literally is an ad campaign running by our government at the moment saying, hey, everyone, let's save that hassle of having to be asked for ID. We're going to give you one central ID. It's an app. And I cannot think of anything more dangerous.
Absolutely. It's like, you have your driver's license, your Medicare card, you have your passport, and now we need something to centralise it all. Why? Yep. Why? What is the motive behind it? And that's the big concern I have, because you store all this stuff online. Everybody's crazy right now about, hey, how's my information being protected? And with good reason. You've got a phone company that has been hacked into. You have a major private health insurer that's been hacked to. And I don't know if you've used a government website recently, but I'm not purely confident that they're the most up-to-date websites, they're clunky. They're always clunky. How is my information being protected?
They are clunky. That's exactly right. Yep. Look, there's a product out there called Spyera that I don't know if you're aware of, right? Okay. Literally, there's a software that you can buy. Okay, it's about $500 or per month. It's probably a subscription now. Okay, where you can literally spy on your partner's phone. Okay, you can literally. This is no joke. Spyera. Go Google it. Have a look. Now, basically, for your fee, you can go in there. Now, if you have their phone number, you get access to, one particular level. If you have the actual serial number of the phone, you can go to the next level, right? So effectively, what you can say, if you had the serial number of their phone, okay, you can actually go through. You can go through their diary. You can go through their phone logs. You can go through their emails. Gosh. You have complete access to everything in their phone. Costs you $500 spy error, right?
Wow.
Now, that's commercially available right now. And why do I know about this? Because I've been victim of it, okay?
Wow.
Yes. Literally, even access to, in my personal circumstance, access to the GPS in my phone as well. Wow. So this person knew where I was at all times, what I was spending my money on, who I was spending my time with. It's nuts. Right now, that's something you can go and buy. Good old free enterprise, because some person with ethical, yes, has developed this kind of software. So now that's something you can buy. Government's got a lot more money, okay, and a lot more options. And the reality is that I certainly don't see a central thing as being anywhere near safe. I think it's absolutely dangerous as hell. And there's even rumours. Now, I don't know. I'm not going to say this. I'm just, as far as I'm not going to validate this, but I'm going to throw it out there. So a lot of people have said, hey, the Medicare thing, the Optus thing was out 18 months before, obviously, it was released to the public. Now, with that, people are saying this was a way of scaring people into this new central ID thing. That this product's been sitting there, and that this is part of the sales technique to get everyone onto it. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. It could be, bit tinfoil hats. I don't know, but it could. The problem is, over the last 2.5 years, the tinfoil hat kind of theory and the reality have been 6 months apart. So we're redefining every single day what's real and who we can trust.
Yep.
And in the nicest possible way, I don't trust the government in any way, shape or form, and I'm certainly not wanting to hand over every bit of my information.
These kind of measures segregate people from the government that they elect. And I think what you've got to realise is a public servant is there to serve the public.
Spot on.
Right? Not rule over the product, but the public.
Yes.
And that's what it's become, is that if you look at how law is structured, okay?
Sure.
God created man and woman, right? Man and woman created government.
Yes.
Government then created public servants to serve the public. And what you're finding is that government is now trying to rule over man and woman.
Absolutely.
And this is what the problem is in terms of martial law, common law,
yes,
and those fundamentals that our society is actually based on.
Yep.
If you go back to the real raw parts and structures of how this is based. And what it is doing is segregating, people. I've talked to people recently, and they said we don't live in a democracy in Australia. They don't believe we do, and I can understand their argument. I can see completely why they're saying what they're saying. So, with that in mind, how does government restore faith from the people to support it? Because at the moment, there's so much segregation between them, and what is the motivation from government to be so persuasive? Now we have to have digital IDs, and you're right about the government ID stuff, because I've seen it at the post office, standing in line with their big fancy plasma screens. Register now for your government ID. I'm going, no, why?
Why?
Exactly.
Why? You know what? Yeah, exactly. I've read 1984. I don't need to do that. I really don't. Try something different. We're going to play a little bit of local music here. Dying Degree there, and I didn't listen. I'm not going to lie. I did not listen to the song, that particular one, before I put it on. It's a little hard for a finance show. It was a bit wild. As I say, I think I really encourage people to get out there and enjoy that. But I couldn't enjoy that because I don't have enough hair to headbang that hard.
I did notice you mosh pit. Do they still do mosh pits? I haven't been to a gig like that in ages.
Oh, you've just made yourself so old, mate.
I know.
Really, mosh pit.
Crowd surfing and all that stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think they do. That's what the kids tell me. I tell you, I wake up so sore now. Okay, honestly. I mean, I used to be able to do all those kind of things. Now I slept wrong and it hurts. So I was saying to Monica just yesterday, I was saying, I wake up, my ankles hurt. Why do my ankles hurt? What am I doing in the middle of the night? I don't know. So look, headbang, if you've got the body that can do it, Get down to Dying to
See,
Green.
this puts it in a whole different dynamic. I'm thinking, does insurance cover mosh pit? Does it cover crowd surfing? I don't know.
This is the thing I love about you, mate. You're always thinking about, finance and liability.
It's all about risk and reward.
Risk. Okay. Now, we're going to go off to the UK. A bit of headbanging from that part of the world, but this is interesting.
This slipped under the radar for me, and I think it's because so much information has been coming from the UK with all the political turmoil they've had of late, and of course they had the big weakening of the British pound a few weeks ago, which we covered quite a lot, and how it almost collapsed all of their retirement funds. I don't know if you recall that one.
I do, actually, yeah.
And I love the honesty of the British. They've actually come out and said, we're having a recession.
Oh, hang on. You sure? You don't want to redefine that?
Across the Atlantic, it's a whole different definition.
Oh, I know that last year. I know in the last administration that was a recession, but no. Now it's just a less very fluffy time. I don't know what it's called. Whatever. Bidenomics. Yeah, let's call.
That's a good one.
Why not?
Yeah.
Let's invent that term.
Yeah, just keep printing money.
Yep.
You like happy tickets after all, Aaron. It gets you down at the Fed.
Damn right.
All your dreams come true. The UK have said that they're already in a full-year recession at the end of September, and this is as Europe faces a bit of a tough winter coming up because they've got the energy crisis that they are talking about, where energy prices have just gone through the roof. Their inflation rate is quite high. It's running at 10% at the moment. Households are facing that, and they're expecting further rises over the winter.
Okay.
This
is scary stuff, okay? Because ultimately, this affects those with less money, okay? And, people need to keep warm.
It does. If people are already stretched or maxed out their credit card prior to all this, it hurts even more when the Bank of England is raising interest rates, currently from 2.25% to 3.25%. They reckon it'll go there by February of next year.
Sorry, mate, I missed that. You said it so down quickly. Where have they gone and where are they now?
They're expecting interest rates in February 2023.
Yep.
They're currently at 2.25.
Okay.
And they think they'll go to 3.25.
That's going to have a massive effect on people's mortgages.
Depending on how much debt you've got.
Yeah.
And, of course, the flow-on effect to personal loans, credit cards, all that sort of stuff. It does hurt, particularly when inflation's going up and your energy bill particularly is going up in the middle of winter.
So true.
That's where the big concerns are. Now, what's interesting of this is they had a big party in England.
Okay.
Let's face it, right? When you have the Commonwealth Games, that's expensive.
It is.
When you have the Queen's Jubilee, that's expensive.
Mm-hmm.
When you have COVID spending, that's expensive. When you have the Queen's funeral, that's expensive. When you have leaving Brexit, that's expensive. So the culmination of all those things, Brexit costs them a lot in terms of trade deals with the EU.
Sure.
It's kind of like a sobering party's over, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
At the moment. And
it's Coronation Street is what it is. There's no party.
This is leading, I believe, to a lot of one of the big factors in terms of the political turmoil that they've had of changing so many prime ministers so quickly and with the mass resignations they've had in UK politics.
It's been good because at least you're updating your smoke detector battery. I mean, every time you get a new PM, right?
Well, 10 Downing Street was memed as,
backpackers?
Yeah.
Oh, really? There you go.
Yeah. Or what's the other one? The temporary stay.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
What is it?
Yeah. I know what you're trying to say.
It's on the tip of my tongue.
I'm not.
Short-term stay, rentals.
Oh, look at that.
Somebody's going to put it in the social
Yeah,
comment.
Of course. I can't believe we both can't remember right now. There you go. You know what's scary about you're saying that? I'm thinking Uber Eats. Okay,
I was thinking the same thing. I'm going, no, it's not that.
Yeah. The big hotel chain that's not really a hotel chain. Yeah,
the online thing.
The homestay thing, whatever it's called. Okay, that thing.
The granny flat out the back stay thing.
Yeah.
Or your holiday home. And what's interesting, at the same time, the UK government is increasing, it affects what they're going to do in tax and not tax. The suite of policy measures included tax cuts and energy subsidies to households and business estimated to cost a minimum 9% of GDP through 2026. How much, when you've got so much debt as a nation, there's only so many tax cuts you can do.
Yeah.
okay?
Yes.
You've still got to pay the bill.
Yeah.
And this is the problem, is that COVID put all of these governments in so much debt that giving a tax break when a real crisis comes along, as opposed to a cold, and I know that sounds really out there, that puts you in jeopardy now. Did you use those emergency funds in something that really wasn't that important?
Yep.
And so this is where the pressure is coming from. Again, fractured systems.
Absolutely. Well, I'd encourage everybody to be on Edge Radio Australia at 5 p.m. if we want to talk about the ramifications of that particular flu. But there we'll go about that. We've got a little show about that.
All right.
You are so right, though. I mean, look, honestly, you have to keep your eggs in the basket ready for that rainy day. When things go wrong, when things are genuinely, there's a big problem. If it's the old story, and from a home point of view, you make sure you've got some money in the account because, hey, the bloody, the rego's coming up. Then the car's going to need tyres. Okay, you're going to have a breakdown, whatever. You need wheel bearings. There's always expenses.
A buffer.
You've got to have that buffer zone. Absolutely. If you've got a small business, you've got to have some cash there because something is going to go wrong. Something is going to break. Right now, that's on a micro scale. Okay. In a nation scale?
Yeah, and this is what you've got to realise, right? I think one of the first shows we did, we talked about the two different economies, the Babylonian system versus the preferred economy.
Sure.
Okay?
Yep.
The Babylonian system, which is a system that comes from Babylon, from ancient Babylon, is a system that we have today. And it's a system that just keeps you just over broke. Okay?
Yeah.
What it does is it goes, you can earn so much, you're not in poverty. And why? Because we don't want to disrupt the system.
Sure.
All right?
Yep.
The problem with that is when you start to get ahead, then things come up. The washing machine breaks down.
It
the
does.
car needs a repair.
Yeah.
Johnny needs some new shoes.
Damn that Johnny. Jeez, walks in the snow with no shoes. Do it properly.
Right? And that's that system. And this is why I teach so much about getting out of that system.
Sure.
Right? Where you're going to play. You want to really prosper, you've got to work in the preferred economy.
Yep. Well, the fundamentals exactly right. Like we're staying. If we keep participating this way, we can't. It makes it so hard to climb out. So if you look at things differently, and look, I'm very excited actually to be doing your course. I really am. I think it's going to change my life. Because if you've got a different mindset, you're looking at things from a whole different way. You can achieve things that you're getting out. We were talking about that box before, right? If you live in that box, you're only ever going to see the side of that cardboard. Okay.
We live in an economic world, and I think what people are going to understand, they go, "Oh, money's boring, finance is boring, etc., etc." This is how you're controlled. Yeah.
Yeah, money is boring, but okay, nice cars in Tahiti are bloody nice, right? It's or being able to put your kids in a nice school, or those sorts of things, right? We'll take them on holidays, whatever the case may be. Money is not this horrible evil thing, okay? It is a way of giving you freedom and opportunity.
It's a tool to do good by.
Yep.
That's all it is, right?
Yep.
And it comes down to, are you attached to it, or does it control you?
Yeah.
Right? Are you master of it, or are you slave to it? And if you make money the top priority, well, guess what? You're its slave.
So true. So true.
So you've sold out.
Yep.
It owns you.
Yeah.
And that's where so many people who are playing in that Babylonian system are.
Of course.
It's generated by two things: greed and self-interest.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I'm seeing a lot of that lately.
Yeah. And that's where we've got to break out of it.
I completely agree. Look, again, success and self-interest. They're not. It is not bad in life to want to succeed. As I say, it doesn't have to be a financial thing. It could be literally. You might want to open an orphanage, right? Okay, it's as simple as that. I've been talking. It's funny because I talk to people about the show, and we get a lot of people listening to the show who come and they speak to me and they ask me questions about it. And what they're blown away. This is the difference that people are saying. They're going, it's not just a bloody finance show. It's not God leaps and talking rubbish.
Yep.
And talking about Nasdaqs and this DAX and whatever. Okay.
Yep.
It relates to your life, okay, and what you can do with your life. And I think that's fundamentally the difference. And just our conversations, just me watching the show, being part of the show and listening to the show, it's changing how I see it.
That's fantastic. You've got to understand it's all a facade for Wall Street.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So the facade is this. I want to pull back the curtain. You're going to see what it is, right?
Okay. Wizard of Oz style here? Okay.
Call it what you want. One of the reasons I believe that the finance industry makes it so complicated and uses so much jargon is to make you feel dumb.
Yep.
To make the average mum and dad feel dumb and go, you're too stupid to run your own money.
Sure.
Right? Let us do it. And when Wall Street says, let us do it, it takes control of your money. Well, guess who profits the most?
Oh, I wonder.
Wall Street, right?
Yep.
So, look, and don't get me wrong, I am a big believer in the stock market.
Sure.
Because a lot of great things that have come out of the stock market would not have happened, okay? We've needed money to share those profits because a great enterprise needs lots of capital to actually get off the ground and do that. So It's not a bad thing. It can be used for good or bad, but in and of itself, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
But that's one of the secrets of Wall Street is to go, you're too dumb to know how to manage your money. Let us do it for you because we've got all these experts for you. And then once they've got control of that money, they basically profit from it. Now, I don't have any issue from someone profiting. I could be accused, you do the same thing, Derek, because with the team that I have, we do trade for other people.
Yep.
But it's money people wouldn't have had.
That's right.
The problem is when the greed and self-interest kicks in.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
And it's got to be, any business deal has got to be a win-win for you and me and the customer or whoever we're doing business. Everyone needs to win. Everyone needs to profit because if I get a leg up on you on this deal, you're not going to want to do business with me in the future.
Never again.
Right?
That's right.
You're going to go, I got burnt.
Yep.
Same thing. If I'm left short change, I'm going, well, it's not profitable for me to do anymore.
Yeah.
So everybody's got to win in the game.
Completely agree with that. I remember a million years ago, I was a young fella, and I was actually at the stock exchange. This is how long ago it is, when there was actually chalking. When they actually had people, men and women, who would run around and they'd write it. Now, West Australia was unusual. Actually, we weren't chalk. We had whiteboards. We were very high tech back in those days. Yeah. But I had someone try to explain to me, one of those chalkies was trying to explain futures to me. And after a few minutes, he said, Aaron, I'll be honest, I don't even really understand it myself. And this is my job, and at that time it came to me very, very clearly that yes, this is designed to be confusing, right? It's designed because when it's confusing, it becomes insular and it keeps people out, and again, it makes us rely on other people to manage our money.
Can I tell you how people who work in the finance industry, a lot of them don't know how different areas of finance work.
Sure.
I've had to go into the bank many times and educate the bank clerk on how to set something up.
Okay.
Right? On what we're trying to do and achieve.
Sure.
One time I was getting really frustrated because the ATO had changed, or ASIC had changed something in how they register companies and this sort of stuff, or issue ABNs stuff. And I knew that they hadn't passed that education on to the bank clerk that I was dealing with. And I basically said, look, obviously they haven't given you that training yet. Well, that put her totally offside.
Oh, jeez, she's loving you, yeah.
But I'm like, this is what you've got to understand. When you become financially educated, you will then be able to play the game a lot smarter, and you'll be less emotionally attached to it.
So I think that's a big thing. I really think that's a big thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Excuse me. So it's a game. How do I navigate through this game? All right, we're having cash flow issues this month.
Sure.
How am I going to navigate through that?
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Out with the game of Monopoly, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And it's so true. I know when a big bill comes in, or for myself or whatever, I feel under financial pressure. It changes my mood. I get negative. I become a bit of a
Yep.
And separating that, your personality and the money and the emotions of it, I can only see that being a positive thing for people. Simple as that. Now, we've gone on around a few subjects today. And you've got another one we were talking about. We're going to sort of dive back in from, effectively, was it last week or the week before? Last week.
I want to talk about FTX. Before I do that, though, we can't ignore the G20 that's happened this week as well.
Oh, yes.
The information coming out of the G20 is not huge at the moment. There is a lot of grandstanding that goes on at the G20. I know this because someone in my circle actually worked in security when it came to Queensland a few years back, and he was like, oh my goodness, all the show of might and the facade that goes on. It's a circus. It's a political circus.
Yeah.
And so that's interesting. And we've seen some of that PR come out in videos leaked with Trudeau talking to Xi Jinping. I don't know if you saw that video.
I did.
There was also the one where they're supposedly talking to Zelensky, Trudeau, and I forget this, what's the UK Prime Minister now?
This week? I'm not sure. Wheel of Fortune over there?
That guy.
Could have landed on
you
anyone.
know it's staged. And you look at it, you go, I don't even know if the link was on the end of the phone because they edited it all out.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, you see some of that. There are other concerns where they're talking about, that was, I believe it was an Indonesian guy, don't quote me on that, but they were talking about the carbon footprint idea, where we can track your carbon footprint linked to monetary cryptocurrency.
Gotcha.
We're not quite there yet. This has huge concerns, again, for people's privacy and control, because when can they withdraw those funds as well? Because it's electronic. If they can put money in your wallet, then they can take it out electronically as well, which means ultimate control to that kind of body if you're on that system.
Yes.
And that's the key to remember there. So there's all of that coming into play right now, which are causing huge concerns. I'm sure there were lots of talks about injections and stuff like that, and those sort of.
I appreciate you doing the hand signal, mate, but on radio, not the best thing.
I know.
I know, but the stupid thing is you use the word, and then everything is ping, 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 ping.
This is a problem. Why should we be censored?
Free speech, come on, optional extra, not this is, as far as I'm concerned, here at Edge, that's where free speech lives, and you know what, where woke can come to die.
So there's more that's probably going to come from the G20.
Yep.
In other news, there is the FTX saga that we talked about last week, where it's been really interesting. What was found out was that money was going into this for a Ukrainian cause, give donations to the Ukrainian effort, and then those funds would go in, and then it's alleged that the Ukrainian government was putting money back into the crypto exchange, where this guy, Sam Friedman, was then giving donations to the Democrats to the tune of $42 million. So follow the trail there.
Is that washing including folding or okay?
This is where it's been alleged. Okay,
alleged.
And I'm going to say that follow the money, as they say.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting that's come out of that, there is one proposal idea that I heard this morning that people are saying it's been done to discredit crypto. Now, a lot of people get into crypto because it's decentralized. In other words, it's not controlled by a government. It's not fiat currency. It's digital, yes, but it's Bitcoin. The attraction to Bitcoin for many people is that it was independent, and not centralized. Now, when you get into centralized tokens, which is what the government issued type cryptos are, then you've got control to a central body. Some are saying that this was an attempt to discredit crypto.
Okay.
And that government intervention would then kick into the crypto space because it's still very unregulated. So there is that theory out there.
There's a lot of theories. A lot of them are based on fact. Okay, the FTX guy, look, there's been everywhere, let's face it. I mean, there's been a lot of memes. I've enjoyed the memes. But, look, who knows what's true? I mean, I've even heard he committed suicide, right? I mean, there's just so many stories out there. Well, that would be a horrible, result, obviously. But, it's very hard to find out, what's going on and who's responsible, quite frankly.
The big issue is this. After they filed the bankruptcy, there was billions of dollars that moved to another company.
Yeah.
Right? So they've put a new CEO into FTX to clean it up and to start working with liquidators. What happens with liquidators is they look at the assets of a company and then go, all right, who do we have to, how much can we get back for the creditors? You'll get certain cents on the dollar. Right? Okay. That's how it works. When you've had billions of dollars move from that exchange to a private company somewhere and then jumping on a plane to Barbados, the question marks are going, well, why? That looks...
You'd have to ask the question, wouldn't you?
What's going on?
Crazy not to.
So that's what's happening there. You're going to see more of this. You're going to hear more of this as this unfolds over the weeks, I'm sure.
Yeah, look, I don't know. I mean, Bernie Madoff and look on. There's been all these sorts of schemes and big wigs coming in and running out with massive amounts of money. It's as old as money itself, really. Let's face it, right? Because this is in the crypto space. Does that still have the same ramifications legally as far as...
Well, that's a good question. Because crypto is not as regulated as something like a stock exchange, in terms of you need a license to deal in the stock exchange, you need an Australian Financial Services license if you're doing it within this country. There's a highly regulated environment.
Okay.
So calling, you've got all these checks, and then you've got governments, private, banks don't like having to deal with those kind of regulatory bodies.
No.
They do, but it costs them a lot of money to do so, right? When there's a complaint and that sort of stuff.
Sure.
Or you get the financial ombudsman in.
Yes.
Look out, that's big dollars. It costs a lot of time to do all this. Crypto has worked outside that space. So there's pros and cons for this, right?
Yep.
Yeah, you've got the privacy. Yes, you've got the independence, but you don't have any government regulatory body that can go, right, we can back this up. And because it's digital, it's even harder to trace.
Okay, and that's why the risk is higher. And whenever the payoff is higher, they work hand in hand. Right.
I'll give you an example, right? I know of a case where someone was trying to they had a coin that had been outdated. Okay, so because they've improved the IT on this. It's a new world, a whole different science world out there.
Speak slowly, mate. I've got to catch up.
Yeah. So this particular coin it was an old version,
right? And
they'd been upgraded to a new version. This individual wanted to move that old alternative coin into Bitcoin, right?
Sure.
So they could do other things. They found a website that could do it straight away, just convert the old coin to a new coin, right?
Yep.
The problem is, who is that company? It was an overseas company. Are they legit, or is it a fake website? What they did was they moved that money onto that coin, and then the company said, we can't do it.
Wow.
Alarm bells go off. Why not? The company's argument was, it's going to cost $90 for you to get your coins back. They're like, why? I didn't get any form of service. They said, it's a fee that the exchange charges us.
Sure.
Now, that could be legitimate, but you can see the problems between multiple bodies here, between working with an exchange, working with almost a cryptocurrency body, and also the consumer. What rights do they have? This is where it gets complex, and you've got to really know who you're dealing with.
This is the balance between, having governments and not, and having anarchy, right? Now, you often hear me sort of talking, and I'm not, particularly strong on government. I'm not actually against government at all. I think government's important. We need structure.
You don't want anarchy.
No, exactly right. We need government. We need structure. Otherwise, things just fall to bits, right? But small government. We need small government. We've got far too much control. We're being controlled by a small amount of people, and I don't agree with government having so much to do with our everyday lives. And that's the problem when you go into the crypto world. It's you're crossing over into that other unregulated market, I guess, and therefore the risk goes up.
Yeah. So great fortunes, yes, have been in crypto, and great fortunes have been lost in crypto. And sadly, in the FTX case, many people left their funds on the exchange have lost a lot.
Yeah, and that's really, really sad because it's look, investors, people kind of have this image of investors. They're mums and dads.
And typically what happens then is then the regulators come in and then there are more rules and less freedoms.
Yeah.
So it's a delicate balance between getting the regulation right, not being overbearing, and having the freedom. It's a real delicate balance.
And look, those scales will be balancing forever. Let's face it. And as things change and things evolve and more products become available, more regulation will come in, and then someone will probably break out, and in 50 years' time, we'll have a whole different crypto called something else. Who knows? Because people do want to work outside, this economic bogs.
Yep.
Yep. All right, mate. That's the end of the show. We could keep talking, but you're fascinating, quite frankly. Honestly, the stuff that you bring, it's for me, as I say, who's not someone who's overly au fait with this kind of stuff. I enjoy it, mate. I really do. Yeah, and I like the fact that you bring it down to how I can relate it to my everyday life. So really, really appreciate it.
It's fun to do. It's a real joy.
All right. Well, we are out of here. Edge Radio Australia.